Shalom, children. Our story begins today, when Yeshua was in the set-apart place during the days just before Pesach. That is, the time when the lambs would be slaughtered and eaten with bitter herbs and unleavened bread. Yeshua was teaching the crowd, and once again the Pharisees started to question him, trying to catch him out. Yeshua said to them, "What do you say to this? A certain man had 2 sons. He went to the first one and said, 'Son, go to work in my vineyard today.' The son answered, 'I will not.' But afterwards he felt very sorry for his words, and he went. The father went to the second son and said, 'Son, go and work in my vineyard today.' The son replied with great enthusiasm, 'Oh, yes, sir, I will go.' But he didn't go to work at all. Yeshua asked the listeners, which of the 2 men did the will of his father? They answered, 'The first one.' Yeshua looked at the leaders. 'Truth I say to you, tax collectors and sinners will enter the kingdom of Yah before you do. Yochanan came to you preaching the way of righteousness, and you would not believe him. Violent men and sinners believed him, and you still refuse to repent.' The Pharisees were beginning to feel very uncomfortable as Yeshua continued with another story. This time it was about a vineyard. Children, do you know what a vineyard is? Well, it is a large area where lots of grapevines grow and are cared for. Yeshua said, a certain landowner planted a vineyard. The landowner put a hedge all around and made a winepress in the rock. He built a tower, then leased it out to tenant vine dressers, that is, men who would take care of the vines until the time to gather the ripe fruit. After many months, it was nearly time for the harvest. So the landowner sent some of his servants to the tenants in order to receive his share of the harvest. The tenants took the first servant and beat him. They killed the second one and stoned the next. So the landowners sent even more servants to the tenants, but they treated all of them in the same brutal way. Lastly, the landowner sent his son, saying, 'Surely they will respect my son.' However, when the tenants saw the son, instead of showing respect, they said to each other, 'This is the heir. Come, let us kill him and take his inheritance.' So they dragged him out of the vineyard and killed him." Yeshua asked the crowd, "When the owner of the vineyard comes, what do you think he will do to the tenant vine dressers?" The people answered, "He will utterly destroy those miserable, wicked men and get new tenants into the vineyard, who will then look after the vines until they bring forth fruit." Yeshua said, "The kingdom of Yah shall be taken from you and given to the Gentiles, who will bring forth the fruits of the kingdom." Upon hearing this, the ruling Kohanim and the Pharisees understood he was speaking against them. They were so angry and were ready to seize him right there and then. But when they saw how many people were there who believed Yeshua was the prophet, they drew back from the multitudes. Yeshua spoke yet another illustration to them. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who made a marriage for his son. he sent forth some of his servants to call those who were invited to come to the wedding. But they would not come. He sent other servants to go out and tell those who had been invited, "Look, I have prepared my dinner. The ox and the fatted calf have been slaughtered, and everything else is ready. Come to the marriage." But those who had been invited did not take the servants seriously. One went back to his farming, and yet another went on with his business. Some of the remaining men took the servants and spoke mean words to them, then killed them. When the king heard what had happened, he was furious. He sent his armies and destroyed the murderers, and completely wiped out the city where they lived. The king said to his servants, "The wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Go now into the highways and byways, and invite as many as you find to the marriage." So the servants went out and gathered as many as they found, both good and bad, so that the wedding was filled with guests. The king went to check on all the guests, and noticed a man was sat there who had not put on the wedding garment. Now, children, this was quite shocking. In those days, when a guest arrived at the wedding feast, the host of the wedding, who was usually the king, would hand him a simple white robe to wear. This simple garment allowed everyone to look equal, regardless of their position in society, whether they be rich or poor. Yeshua continued, "The king asked the man, 'Friend, how is it you came in without a wedding garment on?' But the man had no excuse and was speechless. The king had been greatly disrespected, and so instructed the servants to bind the man up and take him away. He ordered, 'Cast this man into the darkness outside, where people weep and grind their teeth in regret.'" Children, one day there is going to be a heavenly wedding feast. In the last book of our Bibles we can read, "Blessed are those who are invited to the wedding supper of the Lamb." It will be greater than any wedding we have ever been to. It will be more joyful than any fun thing we could ever do. The King has sent out his invitation to us. And if we accept this invitation and put on our garments of salvation and our robes of righteousness, we will be dressed and ready to go. Well, children, that is the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting journey in the life of Yeshua. Shalom.
Shema Yisrael.